This is a time a lot of people have graduated and, are making ready for the NCLEX. So this might be helpful to you. I'm going to share my screen so you can see. Let's see. So this is the content that I will be covering today. As you know, we will be doing cardiovascular problems. But just so you know, if this is your first time joining us, I have online courses that I have pre-recorded, and this is a platform that I post them. It's Thinkific, where if you're interested in or doing fundamentals, you can go here and purchase those courses and listen to them, understand a little bit better fundamentals. There's LPN notes and RN notes, pharmacology, NCLEX crash course, LPN, and also refresher course for LPN and RN. So there's a lot of things that I offer. I have a website, Gab-Nic Excelsior Nursing Tutoring Center. I also do CPR and things like that as well. So you can find out more about what we do and how we help nursing students on our website. And a lot of you probably heard about me on Facebook. So we have a page that we give information on, and that is where we're live right now. So you're going to see us there often. Okay, so let us start. I will be doing the RN today. Let's see, where is it here? Usually I do LPN and RN. So I've done, I use the Saunders book. That's my preferred book because I like the language of the Saunders, but I always tell people use whatever book you're comfortable with, because it's important that you are able to understand the material, and not every book is reader friendly to every single person, right? So use the book that you're familiar with and comfortable with. I like Saunders. This is the, I think it's the 8th edition, but it's the NCLEX review. I like to use it. But again, like I said, I don't only do NCLEX, I also do in-class study sessions as well, right? Anyway, we're going to start with cardiovascular problems, right? So it's always important that you start with anatomy. Those of you who are interested in nursing or are in nursing school, if you're having a lot of trouble with your nursing content, or if you are interested in nursing, it's really important that you focus on anatomy. It's important that you understand the norms of how the body works before you can understand what happens when it's broken down and things are going wrong, because then you'll know how to fix it, right? Because you know how it should be and what went wrong, and you'll be able to know how to get it back to normal. Okay, so in the anatomy of the cardiovascular system, right? So we have anatomy and physiology. So the heart has, and the heart wall layers, right? So it has 3 layers. Obviously, there's a left side and a right side, all of that, but there's 3 layers. There's the epicardium. So it's on the left side of the body, right? So, if you are auscultating the heart, you would put the stethoscope to the left side. That's why it said left side of the mediastinum, right? So if you're nursing, you already know that. Anyone really could just tell when they put their hand over their heart, right? The left side of the mediastinum. So the 3 layers now, the epicardium is the outermost layer of the heart, right? So any time we think about anatomy and physiology, there's layers to everything, right? There are layers to your skin, epidermis, subcutaneous, all of that, right? Dermis. Every part of your body has those layers too, but they're just particular to that organ, and they're named according to that organ, right? And they'll have, if you know Latin or the origin of words, they'll have that epi, right? So epidermis, epicardium, right? So this is the outermost layer of the heart. Then we have the myocardium, which is the middle layer of the heart, right? And in there we see we see it, you could think of the muscle, because that's what it is, the muscle. Why the heart contracts is because of the myocardium. So when there's a heart contraction problem, it's usually because that part of the heart is affected. Then we have the endocardium, and you see the word endo is like inside, right? So that, in my head, that's what it sounds like to me. So endo is the innermost parts of the heart, and that's where the valves and the chambers are. And we're going to talk about what those valves and chambers do and how they help the heart function, right? And if you've never heard me teach, this is something that I like to share. And anytime something comes into mind that is connected to something else in nursing, I always share it at the same time, because I think it's important for the mind to cluster information, and that way you'll remember it better, right? Because maybe you might not remember a certain part of the word of the information, but if it's connected to something you're more familiar with or you feel more relatable to, you'll remember it and then understand it just because you understand that other element, right? But it's also important to cluster information together just to be able to classify information in your brain, right? And I'm saying that because as I talk about the heart, I want you to distinguish the difference between an adult heart and a child's heart, right? We went through maternity a bit before, and we talked about how a fetus heart is different from an adult heart. So I want to tell you that so that you have that in the back of your mind. So some of the things that we're going to talk about in this heart, when we spoke about it last year, and I had mentioned it as well, you're going to see there are some differences, right? But I just wanted to inform you that there is a slight difference from a fetus heart to an adult heart, right? Just so that you know. So then we have inner chambers, we have the heart valves, and we'll talk about how they function. Next, we're going to move on to the pericardial sac, right? So again, all the organs of the body has certain things in common, right? As I said, they have layers to them. They're just different names, but the layers are relatively indicative of the positioning of wherever it is, right? So another thing that all of the body organs have is a sac, right? They all have a space that they must remain in. And in order to separate them from the other organs, because as you know, like most of the organs are like right here, right? Our skin is an organ. If you didn't know that, now you do. But it covers a whole body, right? And that's why we have dermatology, that kind of thing, right? But anyway, so they're all right here and they're smushed together, and it makes sense that they each have a little compartment where they reside so that they can do their thing without interfering with the others, and that is the sac. Again, each of them have it. So the heart has its own, and it's called a pericardial sac. So the heart sits into this little bag or this little sac where it does its function independently of all the other organs that are surrounded, so that it doesn't affect the other organs that surrounds it, even though they're so close together, right? So we have two layers of this pericardial sac. We have the parietal layer and we have the visceral layer. And in between the two, right, the pericardial sac is between the parietal and the visceral layer, right? In between these two is the space, right? Is a pericardial space, and that space has 5 to 20 milliliters of fluid. Again, every organ has this little bit of fluid to help it function, right? The lungs have it, the synovial, there's synovial fluid, and that comes to mind again. I tell you, I'm gonna bring up information that are connected so that you can see how they relate to one another, right? Anyway, so back to this pericardial fluid, right? It's there in order to allow the heart to move with ease, right? It's like a lubrication, and it says that here, or does it say it? Lubricates the pericardial surface and cushions the heart. So when the heart is beating fast, and when you think about it, cushions the heart. Why does it need to be cushioned, right? Well, if I'm pushed or I'm banged into or whatever, that's a jolt, that's a shock, right? And so the heart is very sensitive, as every organ in your body is and needs to be protected. So that little fluid gives it like an element of buoyancy so that it doesn't hit the walls and become bruised or affected, damage, or cause trauma, right? And the same idea when you think about your brain, right? Contusion or concussion, right? If you think of the heart having that same issue, well, the fluid there prevents that from happening, right? But that fluid also, we said, lubricates it and allows it to move open and close very easily. Again, I'm gonna jump into another section here just to show you the connection, right? When we talked about our lungs, we said they had the same kind of fluid that helped the lungs open up and close properly. We talked about the lungs being like a balloon, and that when the balloon is fresh, it's hard to expand, right? But when the balloon has been stretched, it's easier. So that whole idea of that fluid being in that space that allows it to open and close properly. Okay, so again, remember we said anatomy is important. Knowing the norms are important. So as we think about these norms, I also want you to kind of imagine, well, what could go wrong, right? Because then once you start seeing the problems, you'll understand, oh, that's why that happens, right? So like if a person if that fluid that is only supposed to be 5 to 20, if it increases more, if it becomes 30, if it becomes 40, what, that's way too much. And now it prevents the heart from moving where it was helping it expand and close as smoothly as it should. Now it's hindering it, right? So that fluid needs to remain just at that level. When we saw fluid and electrolytes, we talked about how fluids are in every part of our body, and they're compartmentalized, and they should remain in the spaces that they belong in, right? Well, this is one of those examples. That's the amount that it should be, and it shouldn't be anymore. If it becomes more, we have to remove it, right? So know that it's 5 to 20, shouldn't be less, shouldn't be more. And if it does occur that it's more or less, or something happens to the fluid, maybe there's an infection there, the infection is going to happen because of the fluid. Also because, moisture harbors infection, right? So all of these things go together. So that's there is a pericardial space. A problem that might happen, which we'll see later, is called cardiac tamponade. And that is when there's too much fluid and the fluid is compressing on the heart, and the heart is not able to pump or beat the way it's supposed to, right? So, but again, we will see that at a later time. Just for now, you should know that the pericardial space exists. It's there for lubrication and support. It should only be 5 to 20 milliliters. And if it goes higher or lower, or if anything happens to it, it becomes a problem for the heart. For more information on how to register for classes and get help from our tutoring center, visit www.gabnicnursingtutor.com. That is www.gabnicnursingtutor.com. To view our free or paid classes, sign up on www.thinkific.com. That's www.thinkific.com, and register for the pre-recorded classes of your choice after searching for the Gab-Nic Tutoring Center uploads. We offer in-person tutoring and Zoom calls. You can also find us on YouTube for more free classes and tips on how to do better in nursing. We are also on Facebook, where we upload articles, tips, and tricks on how you can make your journey to becoming a nurse smooth and near effortless. Did I mention Instagram? Basically, we are everywhere. So check us out or call 917-602-9927 and we will tell you just how to join. See you soon!